Hello, and welcome back to another Top 5 exclusive right here at MacGuffinPodcast.com. I'm Alan.
And I'm Ed.
And today on the Top 5, we shall be discussing our Top 5 opening scenes. To have a good movie, I think you have to have a great opening scene. And these here are some of our favorite examples.
Totally.
So I will go ahead and start off with my number 5. My number 5 opening scene was written and directed by Paul Thomas Anderson.
PTA!
Many people would probably look at Boogie Nights. I decided to go another way and look at the opening of Magnolia. You have this sort of montage-y storytelling sequence where you have a narrator telling these different stories, all very strange and all running in regards to coincidence and people meeting other people for no apparent reason. You have that scene where you have 3 guys that murder some dude, but yet they're somehow all connected by their name. You have Patton Oswalt being picked up by a plane and being dropped on a tree. And that very strange sequence where a guy tries to kill himself but gets shot in midair and lands on a net. It's very, very strange, but very well done, and really fits within that fits with the tone and the theme of the movie about how people are connected.
Super good movie.
Yeah,
and best Rain of Frogs ever. That's not in the opening, but yeah. Cool. So on to my number 5. Most recent movie on my list, and probably on a lot of lists, is Up. The opening, I'd say, probably 10 minutes of that movie.
Damn it.
Some of the best 10 minutes ever animated. I've cried maybe a couple of times in an animated movie,
right?
But damn,
yeah,
and not just. I mean, we all talk about the montage where they show their life together, but even before that, when they're little kids,
yeah,
even that's fun, cute, and heart wrenching, and but then of course the classic, the montage where they show them growing up together, and
the music, it's just incredible.
I remember watching that, just thinking, these Pixar guys are working on a level that nobody is.
Yeah.
And they know how to tell a story visually.
It's amazing how they can take these characters and have us attached to them within 5 minutes or something like that, and then just care for them just like that without even giving a background or anything. It's amazing.
Yeah, it just grabs you from the opening. Yeah. It's great.
Excellent. The entire movie is great too, but that opening sequence was really, really good. Okay, let's move on to my number 4 opening scene. A world away from the world of Pixar, and it is the opening car ride in Martin Scorsese's Goodfellas. You have Robert De Niro,
this was
Joe Pesci,
almost on my list too.
Ray Liotta, all hanging out in a car. They're all kind of tired. It's late at night, and all of a sudden they hear this rumbling from the back, and they're like, "What the heck is that? Do you have a flat? Let's check it out." They pull over. They open the trunk, and holy freaking crap! Frank Vincent is in there, bloodied and barely alive. And then Joe Pesci just comes up to him and starts stabbing him with the knife, just gah, gah, gah. And then the scene just ends with a great line by Ray Liotta where he says, "Ever since I was a kid, I've always wanted to be a gangster." And bam, the music kicks into the credits. Just so great. It just kicks the door open, all up in your face. And
we'll pour one out for the now departed Henry Hill.
Yes. Rest in peace. But it's such a fantastic opening, a very surprising opening, even though everyone knows about that film. I think when people first saw it, they didn't know what to expect, and it just kind of shocked them. And
it starts the rhythm going, and it's a rhythm-based movie.
Absolutely.
And, awesome pick. My number 4, another grabber from the start. The original Scream. Yes. The opening scene with Drew Barrymore in the house. The amazing. It uses and yet subverts the classic babysitter alone in the house scenario that had been used countless times in horror films before, and suddenly it's new again. And I would say about 10 minutes the most exciting horror movie I've ever seen.
For sure.
I remember watching that the first time. I was eating a bowl of chips, and I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be some dumb movie, whatever." And by the end of that scene, I looked down, and I'd been holding this chip midway to my mouth for like 5 minutes. That's when I knew I was onto something. Like, oh my god, it actually stopped me in my tracks.
Yeah, that's a classic awesome scene. Great casting too. I mean, Drew Barrymore is one of the keys to making that scene.
She was probably the biggest name in that movie,
name, so
and they pull a Psycho moment on you with the Janet. You know, Janet Leigh was the biggest name in Psycho, and lo and behold, what happens?
Exactly. Drew Barrymore, you know, she's the biggest name there, recognizable. People would be like, oh, she's safe, you know. There's no way they would do this to that kind of character, and tables turn and goes crazy from there.
Yeah.
Great pick. Okay, so for my number 3 opening scene, we're going to take it back to 1958 with a classic film by Mr. Orson Welles, and it is the opening shot of Touch of Evil.
This was like my number 6 on my list. I swear to God, it was. I was debating over this one.
Yeah. Classic
the tracking shot.
The tracking shot. The classic use of that Hitchcock idea of having the bomb underneath the table and everyone knows about it except for the people speaking at the table. Only thing is, it's not a table, it's a car. And in one tracking shot, we see the car roll up around this street. You hear, you know, life and music and all these people just having fun in this little town at the southern border. It passes by Charlton Heston and
as
Janet
a Mexican.
Leigh. Yeah, as a Mexican, right? And the entire time you're wondering, what's going to happen? When is this bomb going to go off? And then, boom, it explodes off screen, and then that just sets off the events that pretty much dominate the rest of that movie. It's a great, great shot and a fantastic opening to that movie. Orson Welles, I mean, what more can you say?
I was actually I think they canceled each other out in my mind because I was like, Citizen Kane's opening shot, Touch of Evil's opening shot.
Right.
I can't decide. So glad you picked it.
Yes.
My number 3, I'm going to go with another classic, the original Godfather. Let's face it, if you're going to reference the Godfather, the scene everybody references is, you know, first the America speech, and then the, you know Marlon Brando playing with the cat, and the you come into my house on the day of my daughter's wedding, all that, you know, everything in the Godfather's office in that opening 5-ish minutes is, you know, it's classic cinema. I mean, even from the opening strains of the music itself. Countless numbers of Marlon Brando imitators to follow. After just that, you know, stuff puffed in his cheeks, doling out favors on his daughter's wedding day.
It's a classic scene, and it's amazing that it's so memorable. Yet it's just a bunch of people talking.
Yeah,
and it's just takes place in this room at this wedding, and it's just people having fun, and yet there's so much that goes into it, and it's so memorable. I'm
gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
Exactly. So many classic scenes in like the span of 5 to 10 minutes. It's incredible. All right, let's move on to my number 2. My number 2 opening scene is from one of my all-time favorite films, in Mr. Woody Allen's Manhattan. The opening montage.
Thought about this one myself.
Alvy Singer starting and stopping and redoing the opening chapter of his book. Just can't get it right. Just can't get it the way he wants it. All put on with this fantastic montage of New York City, all these amazing places and landscapes and buildings, all in black and white, with that great George Gershwin music playing in the background.
Badly trying to hum it there.
And climaxing in this wonderful shot of fireworks exploding all over the city. It's just one of those great films that loves New York City, pretty much.
And some beautiful, beautiful cinematography. I mean, it's just
cinematography.
New York's rarely looked prettier.
Exactly. I would put that up with the cinematography in any other film. It's awesome. Gordon Willis, he did his thing in that movie.
Little shout out to my daughter. She loves that Gershwin, Rhapsody in Blue. She loves it.
Yes, love that.
Teenage kid loving Gershwin. I don't get it, but yeah.
I love that. I love that opening scene. I can watch it 10 million times. It's great.
Sweet. Well, on to my number 2 is probably on a lot of people's lists. The opening probably 20 minutes of Saving Private Ryan. Come on. Now, yes. I mean, the whole movie I think is terrific, actually, with one small nitpick, but this isn't for that right now. But that opening, the landing on Omaha Beach is classic. It influenced a generation of filmmakers. It influenced a generation of video game makers, actually. How many Call of Duties have we had after just that movie?
Right.
It gave you that visceral impact of you were there, and suddenly the World War II film went. I mean, it wasn't the first color World War II movie by any stretch, but for a lot of people, it felt like, oh, that war was in color.
Yeah.
And oh, it was bloody. And oh, there was a cost. It wasn't just good guys and bad guys. It was crappy and muddy and visceral.
Yep. I might as well give it away. That's my number one. The opening attack in Saving Private Ryan. Just when I watched that, I felt like I was right there in the middle of it. Like when bullets were whizzing by the guys and everything, I was like kind of like going like this, like what the hell? You know?
Even the build up to it with when they're on the boats and just waiting for those gates to fall.
Yeah, and you could see the look on the soldiers' faces. These guys were nervous, you know. And you had Tom Hanks, and he's all, "I'll see you on the beach," and then from there on, it's just bam, you know. Right when they drop the doors, the bullets just come flying out of everywhere.
I know that was the first time I realized that anybody might have drowned coming off of those boats when I'd read about the, you know, because I'm like, oh yeah, a bunch of guys just fell in the water with 50-pound packs on their back, or
you know, it's one of those things where people of later generations see the war as something you read in a textbook or something like that. That movie really put names to these faces and everything, and really personalized that film and those people that were in it, and how much of a sacrifice they really went through.
Totally.
So,
well, that was your number one?
That was my number one.
Okay, well, to kick it back to Spielberg then, my number one is Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yes,
and
of course.
I know we've probably talked about this movie ad nauseum. I feel like I've brought it up too many damn times on this podcast, but let's face it, of all of the classic sequences that Indiana Jones has ever given us, the opening, everything from the opening shot when they took the Paramount logo turns into the mountain, up until Indy gets on the plane with "I hate snakes, Jacques." I mean, everything in between there is what you think of when you think Indiana Jones. You know, everything from the Hutu shooting blow darts at him, the giant boulder. I mean, if you were to take one snapshot of Indiana Jones, it's him running in front of that boulder.
Sure.
Or him with the idol. Or him with Dr. Octopus trying to get past the darts. Or Belloc. Or, I mean, it's all there.
It's amazing. It's amazing because, well, that opening scene doesn't really have much to do with the rest of the film, but it works. And when I think about it, there's things about that opening scene that doesn't really make sense. Like, how is it that if you put your hand in the light, you'll get shot by an arrow?
Because they were classic master builders of traps.
And that boulder makes sense. That boulder was just chilling there that entire time.
Yes,
but it works. It works exactly.
The Mayans knew what they were doing.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't disagree at all. I love that film. That's one of my favorite action films of all time. One of my favorite films, period, of all time. And I mean, when you pick a classic scene from Indiana Jones, that's the one. So
yeah.
That does it for our top 5 opening scenes. There are a lot.
There was a crap load. This was a hard list.
Yeah, this was a very hard list.
We could make another 10.
Please let us know what your favorites are at MacGuffinPodcast.com, and we will see you guys next time.
Bye.
Peace.